It's the He Mistook Her For a Swan Emergency Broadcasting System, Episode 11. There's a fish on my head. Oh my God. Perhaps some explanation would be in order. Yes, there is a fish on my head. Yes, I am not wearing a fancy-ass cowboy shirt today. Why? Because we are in the far north. We are making a little trip to the bunker, and we are going to deliver a gig to you, at least a song, okay? We've managed to make contact with the bunker, and we've managed to put together a little song, a little impromptu front deck song, a little lo-fi that Colleen and I have done. He Mistook Her For Swan. That's us, Colleen Hodgson and myself, and we're going to do the song "Katie Cruel" for you. So what do you think of that? What a treat! Like I said, a little lo-fi. It was recorded on on somebody's on phone. We didn't have the high-tech recording gear that I have available to me back in the green room. But pretty exciting. So it's going to be super cool. It is National Bourbon Day. And really, nothing bad to be said about that. But dig this. It is also National Strawberry Shortcake Day. So I got a great idea of how we can make this even better is we take some strawberry shortcake and pour a little bourbon on it. How great would that be? I think that would be great. It's Shay Guevara's birthday. Happy birthday, Shay. Power to the people. It's also the birthday of a certain malignancy, a certain orange malignancy that is ensconced in high places down south, which is ironic. It's Shay's birthday and the other guy who will remain unnamed. Pause. It gives you pause for thought. Yeah. Boy George's birthday. Yeah. Anyway, stuff like that. So, without further ado, I'm gonna give you this song. The song's called "Katie Cruel," which is a really cool old song. As we do, a traditional song, and we're gonna crack the hood open on that song, and I'll give you a little more info on it, and also about a lady named Karen Dalton. After I play you this song, all right. So enjoy. What do you think of that? Katie Cruel, great old song, great old spooky song. Yeah, let's take a look. Let's open up the hood on the song and like poke the carburetor and see what's going on in there. So generally, it's described as an American song. It's got parts that came from other places, but generally people say it's an American song. It was a song that apparently was sang by the American soldiers in the American Revolution. And I guess they took it pretty seriously. I guess they'd put the kids to sleep and they'd sing this song in dark and somber tones. And it was a song that was passed down through the generations. Some lady wrote it down in a compilation of folk songs, the folk songs of New England, I think it was called, in the 30s. So it was a song that was known, but not done a lot. The song seemed to also have like a Scottish origin because there was a Scottish song with a lot of the same words and kind of the same theme called "Licked Bob's Lassie." That's not easy for me to say. So basically, the Licked Bob was a soldier, and his lassie was the girl who was followed him around from camp to camp, or he was a soldier and she was following him around. So basically, a camp follower, if you will, a bit of a floozy, I guess, is what you would say. That's what they would say in those days, anyway. I mean, we don't say that now. Anyway, so and also there's the part in the song which is it's kind of like a riddle, which a bit of a tongue twister. The middle part, which goes, "If I were where I could be, I'd be where I am not," which I think that's a fascinating turn of phrase. But that seems to be an Irish song called "I Know Where I'm Going," which is a great names for a song. So anyway, so it's cobbled together from a bunch of stuff, but really it's remembered as an American song. A bunch of people have done it. Some people have done the old Scottish version, the Licked Bob's Lassie. Richard Thompson did that. Richard from Fairport Convention. There was some guy, Sandy Patton, recorded it in the 50s. Peggy Seeger. Remember Little Peggy? Little Peggy run around lost in the department store, and Elizabeth Cotton finds her, and the rest is history. Good old Peggy. She did a version of it, and probably it's Peggy's version that's the one that the New York folk guys in the 60s knew. That would be the one that they probably had the best opportunity of hearing. So, just to recap, it's a song of kind of forlorn loneliness. It may have originally been a song about a camp follower, the Scottish version, but the American version it adds a certain amount of gloominess and heaviness to it, and I think it's more about the feelings of feeling lost that this woman has, that she is separated from the one she loves, and it seems like it's practically impossible for her to overcome that. Without running through the woods and the bogs and the mires and stuff. So it's almost like you have to escape. So pretty heavy stuff. So let's talk first now. Okay, so that's the song. The person who owns this song, the person who has the definitive version of this song is a young lady, she was a young man, named Karen Dalton. So Karen Dalton, who the hell is Karen Dalton, you ask me? So she's, I think from Texas, grew up in Oklahoma. By the time she's 21, she's got 2 kids. She's got 2 divorces behind her. She's already done some crazy stuff. She has abducted her own child, I think, because she lost custody of her daughter at one point. And I think she may have taken the child, and she picked up her banjo and her 12-string guitar, and she hightailed it to New York, where she was going to make it big in the New York folk scene. And she did make it big-ish, within the confines of that scene. She started, just to make a long story short, she, played around, played in that Greenwich Village folk scene, made a lot of friends there. Made friends who actually were true friends, who helped her out, throughout her whole life. Bob Dylan speaks highly of her, says she was his favorite singer from that time. He said she could sing like Billie Holiday and play guitar like Jimmy Reed. So what he's saying is she's a great blues guitar player and she's a great singer and interpreter of songs. Fred Neil, who is the legendary songwriter from that scene as well. He wrote that song, Everybody's Talking at Me, which Nilsson did later on, but he wrote a ton of great songs. And he was a true friend to hers and a collaborator as well. Tim Hardin, who Reason to Believe wrote that song. Karen Dalton did that song, recorded, I think, before he did. So she kind of owns that song too. So she was this great interpreter of songs. She didn't do any of her own songs. She did 2 albums and 100% other people's songs, or traditional songs. Over the course of this time, it seems like she probably developed a bit of a drug habit. She was a very strong-willed person, but apparently maybe lacked a little self-confidence, maybe. So, there's a little difficult to get along with sometimes. On the other hand, it's like so many legends about her, and you don't know what's true and what's not true. It's like she's an empty whiskey glass, which you fill up with anything you find in the back of the liquor cabinet, and you think you're a genius because you figured something out, but you're not. You're an idiot. So cut it out. Just knock it the fuck off. So many tales about her, which are gradually being debunked. But there's this tale that she died homeless on the streets of New York. Not true, but she lived in poverty. Like she was a poor person at the end, and she suffered from illness, maybe AIDS-related illness, possibly. Although that's maybe another one of those things that we're not too sure about. And yeah, since she had a bit of a drug habit, and so a lot of these legends, I think maybe the best way is just to ignore them all, and like in nuclear physics, where you can't really tell, you can never really see those little tiny particles. You can only know they're there by their effect on other particles, right? So the effect she had on other people, Bob, Jerry Garcia, David Crosby, Fred Neil, Tim Hardin, all these other guys from the New York folk scene loved her and took care of her, which to me says more volumes than all the rest of the salacious legends that surround her. She did 2 albums. The first one, I think in '69, which I think it's called "It's So Hard to Know Who's Gonna Love You," and it's pretty basic folky album, not too much accompaniment by other people, and I think on that album she does Katie Cruel, which is just like the legendary version of it. Then she did a second album, I think in '71, the same year that our other legendary friend Anne Briggs did her album, coincidentally. So there's two women who put out legendary albums that were then ignored by the world for years until some clever person discovered them. Too late in the case of Karen Dalton. But anyway, her second album she's got a great lineup of backup musicians. They really, she's got a crackerjack crew. She's got, and great Canadian content too. She's got Amos Garrett on guitar, like one of the greatest guitar players of all time, Amos Garrett. She's got Richard Bell. Canadian from Janis Joplin's band and a billion other bands, and she's got all these other guys, guys from Dylan's band, and just legendary performers. They do some kind of R&B stuff. It's a little slicker than the last one. Basically, bottom line is it really doesn't go anywhere. She's kind of, I guess, seen as a little difficult. She's not touring the album very much, and it just seems like it's difficult music. And back in those days, difficult music was a hard sell. It still is. It's the music I love the most, but it's a hard sell, right? So why is it difficult? Well, you need to stop listening to me and take a listen to her. You need to listen to her voice, and it's a bit of an acquired taste. It's a real broken whiskey glass kind of voice. Very. It's just filled with heartbreak, and it's a little brittle, and it's otherworldly. It's haunting. I think haunting. I think is the word I would say best describes her voice. And that was maybe not something that was really selling like hotcakes in 1971. So she was a little disappointed by all this. Moves back to Oklahoma. Eventually ends up in Woodstock, New York, where she passes away. I think in '93. Not really a ripe old age either. So after she passes away, strangely enough, the fellow who was taking care of her there inherited all her writings. She had poems and songs she was writing, but she never did her own songs. So what happened is they did kind of the same thing that they did with Woody Guthrie with the Mermaid Avenue records, where they got with Billy Bragg and Wilco, where they took all his songs where he just had lyrics and he'd never really finished them, and they made this great album. Well, they did the same thing with Karen Dalton. So you should check that out. There's some cool people like Sharon Van Etten, who is like a really cool singer from New York City or from Brooklyn. And coincidentally, do I have to tell you who else is on that compilation? I hope I don't have to tell you. You can guess. Yes, it's Lucinda. Lucinda, the person who is on every compilation. She is the compilation queen. There can be no compilation without Lucinda. So there she is. She got in there like it's like she does. So, anyway, Karen Dalton, bit of a tragic life. Never really made it, but had this really positive aura around her, and influenced so many people she knew, and so many people loved her that. I feel you got to feel a little protective about her, and she's our sister, and we need to take care of Karen, and we got to not listen to all the negativity, and we should just listen to her records. So with that, maybe you should go and listen to a couple of Karen Dalton songs after this. So that was episode 11 of the emergency broadcasting system. For He Mistook Her For Swan, which is Colleen Hodgson and myself. We are a soon-to-be legendary folk band. Let's put it that way, okay? So everybody keep out of major trouble, get into a little bit of trouble, do something impish today, okay? Just something, a little troublesome, but not so troublesome that you have to go to jail, okay? And it'll make you feel better. I guarantee it. All right, everybody, you take care, and we will see you next week.